So Esther, it's been very much my pleasure to come to your school, the School of Business, and also to learn about your triumphal, a victorious journey, something amazing, a good example to all girls. In conclusion, what is your message to girls out there?
My big message is that never give up. Always believe anything will happen, anything is possible. And whenever you get opportunity, take it and run with it. Don't waste it, just do it. And just remain strong. I know sometimes we have our ups and downs, but you just need to remain strong, keep motivated, look out for those opportunities and utilize them to your best ability.
Yes, and you had obviously a sponsor who paid, you said how much? About 350,000. What message, what special message do you have to women like her?
I would like to thank her and women like her very much for just having a big heart to take someone who they'd never met before, and just trusting and believing that they can, and pushing themselves really hard to make sure that girls like me have an opportunity in life. In fact, I can never thank them enough. Betty, I can never thank enough. Lisa, I can never thank enough. And women like her, I can never thank them enough, because what they did was basically give me a life that I didn't have, that I couldn't imagine I could have. But because they had big hearts, it just turned out this way.
Obviously, I saw you with a family.
Right.
Yes. How does it feel to have a family around you? I almost thought it was almost like Zimbabwe, where Granny comes, Lisa's mom, her dad, their children, 3 boys, and their girlfriend, and a daughter-in-law. How does it feel to just have that atmosphere around you of friends or family?
It definitely feels great. It's sort of like being home away from home, and I've been very fortunate enough to have a family wherever I am, and it's amazing that there's still people out there who are selfless, giving and loving and very caring. So it's really a gift and a miracle for me to actually have lived with 2 different families and gotten along with both of them. Because as you might already know, I stayed with Betty when I was a kid for a very long time until I finished high school, and to me they're still my family. They were the first proper family I ever had. And then when I came here, I had Lisa and her family, and they became also my family. So it's really quite amazing and extraordinary how much I've sort of gained from just being around people who are very positive and family oriented. The support really is what keeps me going and motivated to chase after my dreams.
There are some great things that happened between you and Lisa in terms of skills building. Can you tell me something outside the business school, like your life survival skills? What skills did you get that you want to maybe share with other people out there, other young girls out there, when you meet them, of course?
Right. So we basically know that in life you sort of have to learn survival skills one way or the other. And for me, I guess the most important ones were cycling. I had never gotten on a bicycle before, and this will sound really strange, but I was so terrified of a bicycle because I didn't have the opportunity. My grandmother couldn't afford to buy us a bicycle, so I never learned how to do that. When I came here in the US, Lisa and her family were like, "This is so strange, you can't ride a bike? Everybody in the US rides a bike, so if you would like to learn, we can sort of make it happen for you." And so I was really eager and interested enough that they bought me a bike and I didn't know how to ride the bike, and just said, go ahead and teach yourself ride the bike. And so she kept, monitoring that I was actually learning how to ride a bike. And now I can ride a bike, which is really amazing.
And you can drive a car as well?
Yes, I can drive a car now. Like, I have my license, which is really nice. And then I also learned how to play tennis. I used to play soccer, so generally I have a very competitive spirit when it comes to sports especially. But outside of soccer, I just played a little bit of volleyball, a little bit of basketball, but I was never really good at that. But I also discovered when I came here that I'm actually good at tennis. So now I play tennis, and I also swim. I learned how to swim. So yeah, those are like some of the life skills that I've sort of learned. I also learned a little bit of cooking, American foods especially. So it was also like a good skill to have.
And you also learned to dance?
Yes. So at university, like, we're required to take classes outside of our majors. And one of the classes I took was dance class. I'd never danced before. I always was shy, and I never tried the dancing aspect of my life before I came to university. But in that class, I sort of learned, the art of dancing. I was never good at it. I still was horrible, but it was a good opportunity for me to sort of like meet people and learn new dances, Zumba, salsa. So yeah, that was really good. And I also did a little bit of music. It was understanding music. I can't play an instrument, but I sort of like understand and can criticize music. Not really on a professional level, but for a college student, I think I can. So it was really amazing just having.
And all the interview skills, the speaking skills.
Right. I never was big with like speaking. I was always a good communicator in writing, but never in speaking. But when I started looking for internships, I had to practice reading out things aloud to myself, and sort of like look at some of the questions that are classic that you totally can never avoid in an interview. And so through practice, I've sort of become really good at interviews, to the extent that I no longer feel the need to sort of like sit down and practice some of the questions. I just need to know what the company I'm interviewing with does, and who the person I'm interviewing sort of is from which department, and what their interests are, and then I can sort of like gear my interview towards that person on a more personal note. So those are like some of the skills that I really got from my 4 years of university.
Yeah, and then I want to go back to your life a little bit in Chitungwiza, in the village of Chishawasha, at Girl Child Network. What are some of the skills that you learned there as a child, as a teenager, that you think carried you over to this life? Because a lot of people think from where they come from, even if it is poverty-stricken, they think there are no lessons. So you must have learned something very hard with Girl Child Network Zimbabwe, with many other people. Just take us through, just briefly.
So I was raised by my grandmother from when I was 6 months old. So I learned a great deal about perseverance from her, just being humble, because without being humble, you lose opportunities. People will no longer want to associate yourself. If you can't say thank you to somebody who has done however little or however big it is, you certainly have to remember to say thank you. So those are like some of the key foundations I learned at a very, very young age. And coming from a very poor background, we always had to say thank you maybe to a very small meal that wasn't even fancy at all. But the fact that you actually had it, somebody gave it to you, you had to say thank you and really truly show that you're thankful for that. So I really learned being thankful from a very young age. And then just being perseverant and hardworking. Those are the things I really learned when I was very little. I remember at Go Child Network, I would help out, just staying in touch with the goal, sometimes tutoring. And when Betty was away, I sort of took over and helped the transitioning directors to get on board and, just get familiar with what Girl Child Network does and get, the materials they needed, and sort of like keep the line of communication open with Betty so that, the strategy, the vision of the organization remained intact even though she wasn't on the ground. So definitely you need to work hard, and that's one thing I learned from early on. And that, if you sleep, you snooze, you lose. So with that, I spent a lot of countless hours not sleeping. I operate on about 4 or 5 hours a day of sleep. So you need to realize that even if you get an opportunity, it's what you do with it that's more important. So if you get an opportunity, you need to realize that you still need to work hard, you still need to meet some criterion to maintain some sort of status. So those are like the things I really learned from both Girl Child Network, from my grandmother, from just the background I came from, and just being kind in general. But sometimes people tend to forget where they came from. The moment they sort of have crossed over to the other side, they sort of forget that, there's still other people from the side they left. So I still am looking at ways I can make a difference in my own way. And I think, if you already have a big heart, and if you learned from a very young age that you need to be a kind person, then everybody will sort of want to be associated with you because you're generally a nice person, very kind and giving. No matter how small it is, no matter how big it is, somebody will always be grateful for that. So those are like the things I really learned before attending university, and it sort of formed a good foundation for me, to the extent that in my sophomore year there was this company on campus which administers CPA courses when you want to become a certified public accountant or chartered accountant equivalent. And this professor was just like, "Oh, Esther, I know you're interested in accounting and finance. There's this company, they're looking for a campus ambassador. You don't really do much. All you need to do is like get in touch with the field specialist and then distribute flyers, obtain emails for people interested in taking the exam. And then at the end of it, they give you a scholarship worth $4,000 to take your CPA classes without paying because they cost that much." So I took that opportunity, and it was not because I was a good student, it was because I was generally a nice person and very kind, and everybody sort of knew that, I was that person, and that's how I got to have that scholarship, which I'll be using to sit for my CPA exams this coming summer.
Amazing. So Esther, thank you so much for the time, and also congratulations for achieving. And all I can say, and what I can precisely say is for your life, I just wish you the best. It has to be the best always, otherwise you can be with the rest. So always know that my wishes are for the best. So thank you for taking time to just share your experience, to share your journey, and also to just give words to other girls out there, because there are many who die to just hear that you can do it. There are many who are in small villages who still don't know that there is a world as big as this. And your lecturer said something good about you just now. Can you just say that in concluding?
Yes, so my lecturer said I was the best student he ever had in his class, and this is a financial modeling class which requires a lot of reading, a lot of quantitative analysis, a lot of building your own models from scratch to evaluate companies and stocks. So that just goes a long way to show that if you work hard, everybody will recognize you for the hard work you're doing.
And they will remember you.
They will remember you, and the products you produce will always be great and remembered even long after you're gone. And that sort of paves way for others as well.
Thank you, Esther, and thank you so much for being a good ambassador for girls in the whole of Africa. Your lecturer said great things about you. It will leave a good mark here, so that future generations who want to come here, they will remember Esther, and so they will welcome them. So thank you, and goodbye.